Great question. So this issue is one of four things. If you've got elongated cranking when cold on your Power Stroke 6 liter, it's probably the FICM, but it could also be FICM tuning. It could also be a a sticking injector, and it could also be a high pressure oil system issue. So let's kind of dig deeper and figure out which one of these things it could be. So to find out, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start with the easy stuff, right? And hopefully you've got gauges. And if you don't have gauges, oh my goodness, it's going to be harder for you. But if you have gauges, what you can do is pop on your monitor FICM main power. Take a look at that, and pop on your gauges also ICP. Ideally voltage, but if you don't have voltage, then fine, PSI. What you want to do is you want to verify that your FICM main power key on engine off is above 46 or above. And then you want to verify that during cranking it doesn't drop below 46 and above. And if it does, well, there's your problem. It's a FICM. If your ICP voltage, if it's going ahead and it's going, hey, it's 0.24 key on engine off, that's perfect. Or 0 psi key on engine off, also perfect. And then during cranking, it's not, it is taking a while to get above 500 psi, right? It's taking a while to get above 0.93 volts. So you need 500 psi physically, about 480 actually, physically to have the possibility of ignition, but the ECM won't give the go for launch code until 500. So if you're crank, and it's like your engine's putting the little engine that could, I think I can, right? And so you're going from 0.24 to 0.34 to 0.56 to 0.65 to 0.78, right? And then all of a sudden you hit 0.93, and all of a sudden, boom, it starts. Okay, that's high pressure oil. Similarly, if it's 0 psi injection control pressure, and it's 0 to 20 to 40 to 90 to 120 to 320 to 440, 500, boom, now it starts. Again, high pressure oil. If both of those are good, it could be that you've got sticking injectors. And that just happens when varnish and crap happens in the spool valve of the injector primarily. So you can either take the injectors apart and drop them in an ultrasonic cleaner, in which case what you want to do is run over to Harbor Freight, pick up a little $80 ultrasonic cleaner, 50% simple green, 50% water, and take the wife's jewelry, the girlfriend's jewelry, put it all in there, make it sparkle, make her happy. That's a good step one, boys, just saying. And then take the injectors and drop them in there and clean up all the gunk and put it back in. That'll solve your problem. All you need now is an O-ring kit, which we sell on FICMRepair.com. Or you can just replace the injectors, obviously, but that's more money, but better. But newer is always better. But who's got the money for that? Or it could just be a FICM tuning issue. And so if it's a FICM tuning issue, recognize that the FICM tuning, there's something called inductive heating. And the latest version of software from Ford and the second to the latest version of software from Ford, they both support inductive heating, as does all of our tunes that we would provide you. So the Atlas 40, the 80, the Eco, the Hercules, they all have inductive heating. And what that is basically a controlled short circuit out to the injectors to warm up the motor oil right at the top of the injector to enable for a better cold start. So if you don't have inductive heating, there you go. So if you check your FICM main power numbers and you are indeed never dropping below 46 cold, and not key on engine off and not during cranking, and you check your high pressure oil and you're instantly over 0.93 as soon as a half a second of turning the key, and or above 500 psi, well, I say and or, really injection control pressure voltage is what you want to be looking at, not PSI if at all possible, because PSI can be spoofed by the ECM as far as any kind of aftermarket tuning that you may be running. Then, but if your high pressure oil numbers are good, and if your FICM is behaving, then I would say from a voltage perspective, then I would say, hey, why don't you send off for the FICM tuner from us on FICMRepair.com, go ahead and score yourself that Atlas 40 tune, maybe, say, and that way you're guaranteed that you're running the latest version of, you're running a version of software that has inductive heating. So if you have, if you have a scan tool that can tell you what FICM software you're running, you can say, okay, yeah, I'm running ARZ2AL11, for example. Well, that's the latest version for an 05 or newer truck. Well, then you can, Google that and say, hey, what's this known for? Or say you're running ARZ2AL01. Well, that's not 10, it's 01. Well, what's that one known for? And you can verify that it has inductive heating. But if it doesn't, then you can say, okay, fine, let me go ahead and get a FICM tune from FICM Repair, and that way I'll have a PRZ2AL11 as an example, and that is inductive. And so if you've verified that your FICM main power is never dropping below 46, you've verified that your injection control pressure is going above 500 psi, which is 0.93 volts or higher, and it's still not starting, and you verified that you're running an inductive tune on the FICM, and you're still having an elongated crank cold, then it's injectors. And you can either choose to clean them to get the varnishing off there, or you can choose to go ahead and replace them. Now, down the path of cleaning them, I do feel obligated to share, don't take sandpaper to your spool valves like you saw so many times people doing on YouTube and whatever. Oh my goodness, why would you do that? No, and oh, by the way, no. You want to use a method of cleaning that does not remove material. And so that way you're not jacking with the tolerances of that spool valve. So there you go. As far as why, because there's always a reason why, and you guys know I'm into that. There's always a reason why. The reason why your voltage drops below 46 during cranking cold, and for the rest of the day it's fine, is because there's some heat still inside the FICM, and so there's a 30 amp draw through the FICM when it's cold, and only a 3 amp draw through the FICM when it's warm. So it's way more difficult to put out the proper voltage when the amperage draw is so high. So that's what's going on. Now, a little cheat code, a little way to get out of Dodge if you're having a problem. You're in the middle of nowhere freaking camping and your truck won't start. If you have a butane torch, which you can do, a little handheld torch, or a hairdryer or a heat gun or something like that, you can run some heat over the FICM physically. I know it sounds crazy. Don't keep it there. You're not burning the thing up. You're not trying to melt the aluminum case. Come on, have a brain. We have these. Let's use them. And just go ahead and warm up the case and just dance the flame over the FICM, dance the hot air gun over the FICM, and heat that puppy up and see if your truck doesn't just start immediately. Obviously, that's not a long-term fix, but it'll get you home. And so those are some tips and tricks. And by the way, if you are playing the little engine that could down the path of high pressure oil and 0.24, 0.34, 0.42, 0.51, and then also finally over 0.93 and finally the thing starts, it's probably a dummy plug in your one of your oil rails. And what's happened is that dummy plug O-ring has failed, and it's allowing oil to seep back in and recognize, to seep out of the oil rail, so all of a sudden you lose prime. And so what ends up happening is it takes a while, because your high pressure oil pump is a high pressure, low volume pump. And so when it's a high pressure, low volume pump, it takes a minute to get all that air purged out of the oil rail. And then all of a sudden the thing's starting. Now, the problem with this is if it is a high pressure oil problem, please recognize, and you keep on doing this, recognize it is a tremendous exodus of electrons from the batteries by you continuing to elongate crank your truck. And so if the FICM isn't the issue now, say it is high pressure oil, the FICM is going to become the issue as a result of you not resolving this problem, because FICMs fail. One of the very big causes of their failure is indeed inadequate supply side voltage, which is going to happen through elongated cranking. So get this fixed and life is good. Hopefully this gave you the tools. If I missed something or you want more information, put it in the comments. So appreciate this question. And if you got more, by all means, put them in there. We'll see if we can get them asked and answered, and we'll go from there. But any parts you need, we totally got you. And over at FICMRepair.com, and tech support from us is always free. So if you want to call in, 515-897-4459. The goal is not to tell you stuff. Oh, sorry. Yes, it is. The goal is not to sell you stuff. The goal is to tell you stuff. FICMRepair.com. We're all in this together.